12 year. Old human girl buys a decommissioned fighter. It carries a lost civilization's message. Lila had always loved old things. While other children her age played holo games or raced miniature grab bikes in the market lanes, she spent her free time wandering through scrapyards, abandoned hangars, and old spaceports. Most people ignored these places, thinking them dull or dangerous, but Lila saw them as treasure troves. Every broken circuit or cracked panel told a story. Every dusty hull whispered secrets of adventures long gone. She ducked under a low metal beam and stepped into the largest hangar she had ever seen. It smelled of oil, burnt metal, and old engines. Sunlight streamed through gaps in the roof, casting sharp lines across piles of discarded tech. Starship wings, engines, and hulls of all sizes lay scattered around like forgotten bones of some giant, sleeping creature. Lila's eyes sparkled. "Jackpot," she whispered to herself. She wandered deeper, careful not to trip over wires or rusted debris. A faint hum caught her attention. She followed it until she reached a row of small fighters, all marked Decommissioned, property of the Galactic Defense Authority. Most of them looked useless, doors hanging loose, cockpits cracked, paint peeling. But one ship stood out. It was small, sleek, and surprisingly clean compared to the rest. Its hull was scratched and scratched some more, but someone had cared enough to polish the canopy. Strange symbols ran along the sides, symbols that glowed faintly when the sunlight touched them. Lila knelt beside it, brushing her fingers over the markings. "What are you hiding?" she asked. The ship's canopy opened slightly at her touch, as if inviting her in. Lila's heart raced. She had never seen a decommissioned fighter react like that. Most of the ships here were dead machines. But this one seemed awake. "Can I buy you?" she muttered. The shopkeeper, a gruff alien with 4 arms and a permanent scowl, looked up from his paperwork. "That one? Huh, no one wants it. Last time it flew, it crashed into a moon. Said it had attitude. I'll let it go for next to nothing if you can pay." Lila's hand shook with excitement. She dug into her small coin pouch and counted carefully. "I have enough," she said.
The alien raised an eyebrow.
A human child buying a fighter? Bold, and probably dangerous. But sure.
"It's yours. Take it before I change my mind."
With a grin, Lila dragged the small fighter out of the hangar. It was heavier than she expected, but she managed to push it onto a hover platform. The ship hovered slightly, adjusting to her weight. It felt alive under her hands. She couldn't explain why, but she felt like she had just made a friend. That night, in her small bedroom stacked with old tech and scrap, Lila began to explore the ship. The cockpit smelled faintly of oil and warm metal. Buttons and levers lined the panels, many covered in dust. She ran her fingers across the controls, pressing here and there. A sudden blue glow lit the cockpit. Lila jumped back. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the seat. A figure appeared, shaped like a humanoid but shimmering like liquid light. "Greetings," it said in a voice that was both musical and strange. "I am a message from the Arindar civilization. You have awakened what was thought lost. Listen carefully. The fate of knowledge and life itself may depend on your choices." Lila's jaw dropped. What? The civilization? Lost? The hologram continued, showing images of a planet she had never seen. Cities floated in the sky, towers glowing with energy, creatures moving gracefully through streets she could barely comprehend. Then the image changed. Smoke rose from the cities, the buildings cracked and fell. Everything shimmered and disappeared. The hologram's voice grew serious. The Arindar vanished long ago. Their wisdom was scattered across the stars. What remains is a test. Only a species capable of curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity can succeed. You, human child, are the first to awaken this message. Guard it well. Others will come to take it. Lila's mind raced. She was only 12. A message from a lost civilization.
And the ship had chosen her?
She pressed a button, hoping to see more, but the hologram blinked. The message is incomplete. You must learn, explore, and decide. Seek the coordinates hidden in the ship's core. Only there will the full message be revealed. Lila's heart thumped with excitement and fear. This was bigger than any adventure she had imagined. Bigger than anything she had read about in the hollow libraries. Bigger than any human had dared to imagine. That night she barely slept. She dreamed of stars and ships, strange ruins and glowing messages. She dreamed of alien skies and cities that floated above oceans. Every so often the ship hummed softly, as if reassuring her that it would guide her. The next morning Lila returned to the cockpit. She began learning the controls, pushing buttons carefully, reading labels in languages she didn't understand. The ship seemed patient, teaching her in small ways. A lever would tilt slightly when she pressed it wrong. A button would glow brighter when she pressed it correctly. She felt like she was talking to a teacher who could read her mind. Days passed. Lila realized the fighter wasn't just a ship. It was a library, a guide, and a companion. The more she explored it, the more it revealed. Hidden compartments held maps of unknown star systems. Holographic keys unlocked knowledge about physics, propulsion, and energy systems far beyond what humans currently mastered. But she also noticed something strange. Sometimes, the ship reacted when she wasn't touching it. Panels would light up on their own. The symbols on its hull would glow faintly. It was as if the ship recognized something in her. Something human. One afternoon, as she adjusted the pilot seat, she discovered a small panel behind the controls. The panel opened to reveal a glowing orb. Lila reached out, and the hologram appeared again. "You are learning quickly," the Arindar voice said. "But time is short. Others will come. The galaxy is wide, but not all who wander are kind. The coordinates you seek are not far. Follow them, and you will find what remains of Arindar knowledge. Fail, and it may be lost forever." Lila swallowed hard. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement. Fear of what might be out there. Excitement at the thought of discovering something no human had ever seen before. She realized she was no longer just a girl playing with old machines. She had a mission, a responsibility. She spent the next week preparing. She didn't tell anyone, her parents, her friends, no one. Humans were underestimated in the galaxy, and she had learned early that adults often discourage children from thinking they could do great things. Lila didn't need anyone's approval. She just needed courage. Finally, the ship was ready. She had studied the controls, memorized the maps, and decoded part of the hologram's instructions. Lila climbed into the cockpit one last time and touched the glowing orb. "Take me there," she whispered. The ship hummed to life. Lights danced across the panels, engines glowed softly, and the hum grew louder, filling the room with energy. Then, with a smooth lift, it floated above the ground, hovering in front of the open window. Lila's heart raced as she looked at the stars beyond her window. The galaxy, vast and mysterious, awaited her. And she, just 12 years old, small, human, underestimated, was about to take the first step into an adventure no one else could imagine. She smiled. "Okay, let's see where you want to go." The fighter responded with a soft, approving hum, and then, faster than Lila could comprehend, it shot out of the atmosphere, leaving the familiar lights of her city behind. For the first time, she realized that humans were not just small players in a huge galaxy. Humans could learn, adapt, and discover. And maybe, just maybe, they could change the story of the stars. The journey had begun. Lila's heart still thumped from the first taste of flight. She had never left her city before, never crossed the atmosphere into the wide blackness of space. Yet, here she was, her small hands gripping the fighter's controls as stars streaked past her like glowing ribbons. The ship hummed beneath her, responding to her movements as if it knew her better than she knew herself. The cockpit glowed with soft light, highlighting symbols she had learned to read, the strange language of the Arindar. Every flicker, every sound, felt like guidance. She had studied the initial hologram repeatedly. The Arindar civilization had vanished long ago, leaving behind knowledge scattered across the stars.
The fighter was not just a ship, it was a messenger, a guide, and a test.
And now it had chosen her. Lila pressed a button that activated the ship's navigation console. A 3D star map projected into the cockpit, showing a vast area of space dotted with glowing points. One point pulsed brighter than the others. Coordinates. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's see where this takes us." The fighter tilted and accelerated smoothly, pushing her gently back into her seat. Outside, stars blurred into long lines. It felt like flying through ribbons of light. She grinned, unable to stop herself. Adventure had never felt so real. After a few hours, Lila noticed something strange. A small fleet of ships appeared on her sensors. They were sleek and unfamiliar, clearly not human. The symbols marking them were sharp and angular, unlike anything she had seen in the trade hubs. The ship's AI spoke, calm and melodic. "Unidentified vessels approaching. They are scanning for technology of the Arendar. Likely sent by scavengers or collectors. Evasion recommended." Lila's stomach twisted. "Collectors?" she asked. "Like space pirates?" "Not exactly pirates," the AI replied. "Entities who value technology above life. They see humans as small and weak. They will not expect resistance." Lila's mind raced. She was 12. She had no experience in space combat, no training for evasive maneuvers. Yet, as she looked at the approaching fleet, she realized the fighter itself was giving her confidence. It had chosen her because she could think differently, because humans could adapt in ways others could not. Okay, she muttered. "Let's be smart, not scary." The fighter shifted subtly, slipping into a dense asteroid field nearby. Rocks the size of buildings floated silently, casting long shadows. The alien ships hesitated. Their sensors struggled to track her among the moving obstacles. Lila held her breath. Come on," she whispered. A small voice in the cockpit reminded her. "Curiosity, ingenuity, and empathy." That was what the hologram had said. She remembered it clearly now. Strength alone would not save her. She noticed one asteroid glowing faintly in the shadows. A thin line of energy ran along its surface, an abandoned energy conduit from some long-forgotten mining operation. Lila had read about these in old starport logs. With careful timing, she could use the energy to create a temporary pulse that would confuse the alien scanners. She aligned the fighter carefully, nudged the lever, and sent a pulse. The glow on the asteroid flared, sending a ripple of energy through the asteroid field. The alien ship's sensors flared with interference, and, one by one, they drifted off course. Fighter hummed approvingly. Lila felt a thrill she had never known. She had outsmarted an entire alien fleet. Not by fighting, not by force, but by thinking. And that was the Arendar's lesson in action. Hours passed in quiet tension. Lila stayed near the coordinates the hologram had provided. Each system she crossed brought new wonders. Planets with skies swirling with colors she could barely describe, moons that glowed faintly as if they had their own heartbeat, and fields of debris from civilizations she could only imagine. Finally, the fighter slowed and hovered near a small, rocky planet. Its surface was cracked and scarred with deep canyons and jagged mountains. Lila's heart skipped a beat. The coordinates were right above the planet. The next step in the message waited below. The ship's AI spoke again. "Prepare for descent." The Arendar left remnants of their civilization here. You may encounter tests designed to measure reasoning and morality. Tests? Lila asked, biting her lip. Like puzzles. Challenges. Only those who can think, adapt, and make wise choices may succeed.
Ilana?
She had always loved challenges. She could do this. She had to. The fighter's landing gears extended and it settled gently on the planet's surface. Dust swirled around her as the small engines powered down. Outside, the world seemed silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that made her skin prickle.
A faint glow drew her attention to a nearby structure. It looked like a tall spire, cracked and tilted, made from metal that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. Symbols ran along its surface, glowing faintly. Lila recognized them from the fighter's hull, the Arindar. She approached cautiously, the fighter hovering protectively behind her. As she touched the spire, a soft hum echoed through the air. Panels shifted, revealing a pathway into the interior. Inside, the walls were covered with more glowing symbols. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing images of the Arindar civilization. Cities floating above oceans, towers of light reaching into the sky, and beings moving gracefully, working together in harmony. Then the images changed. Buildings cracked and fell. Fires raged. The beings vanished. Lila realized this was a warning. The Arindar had destroyed themselves, not through war, but through mistakes, perhaps arrogance. The fighter's AI whispered, "Their message is incomplete. The full knowledge remains hidden within the spire. Solve the challenges to unlock it." Lila's eyes scanned the room. Strange panels lined the walls, each with symbols and glowing lines connecting them. She traced the lines with her fingers, noticing patterns. It was like a puzzle, but more than that, it seemed alive. Hours passed as she worked, trying different combinations. Sometimes the panels reacted, sometimes they did not. She felt exhaustion creep in, but she refused to give up. Her curiosity, her desire to understand kept her going. Then, a soft click echoed. One of the panels slid open, revealing a small, glowing orb. Lila reached for it. The hologram appeared again. "You have begun to understand," it said. "The Arindar valued intelligence, creativity, and empathy. You have all three. But beware. Others are aware of your presence. They may come seeking the technology. Your choices will determine what is preserved." A warning light blinked on the fighter's dashboard. Sensors indicated movement above the planet. The alien fleet from earlier, or perhaps others, was closing in. Lila swallowed. She was 12, alone. But she wasn't powerless. She had the fighter, the spire's secrets, and her own mind. That was more than most species had when facing such challenges. She realized something important. Humans were underestimated because they were small, unarmed, and often young. But humans had traits others lacked: curiosity, adaptability, and the ability to think in ways no one expected. She smiled. She could use those traits to protect the message, and maybe even outsmart her pursuers. The fighter's AI projected a map of the planet and the surrounding space. There was a path that could lead her to another hidden chamber, one that might hold more of the Arindar knowledge. But the route was risky. Alien ships were approaching, and the terrain was jagged. Lila clenched her fists. "I can do this," she whispered. "I have to." She guided the fighter toward a narrow canyon that snaked between jagged mountains. The alien ships hesitated at the canyon's entrance. They were too large to follow easily. Lila maneuvered the fighter with precision, the small craft twisting and turning like a living creature. Inside the canyon, she discovered another hidden chamber, buried in the rock. The spire's symbols glowed brighter here. Panels lit up as she touched them, revealing fragments of the Arindar message, diagrams of energy systems, star maps of civilizations that had vanished, and notes about choices that led to survival or collapse. Her mind reeled with the knowledge. She was learning secrets no human had ever known. And she realized something powerful. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Here she was, a 12-year-old girl, navigating alien technology, outsmarting fleets, and beginning to unlock the wisdom of a lost civilization. A sudden thought hit her. This wasn't just adventure. This was responsibility. The message, the fighter, and her actions could change the course of human history. Lila looked out at the stars. Somewhere beyond those lights were more civilizations, more knowledge, and perhaps more dangers. But she felt ready. She had the fighter, her mind, and the spirit of humanity behind her. And she knew one thing for certain. Humans, no matter how small or underestimated, could shine in ways the galaxy had never imagined. With a deep breath, she turned back to the glowing panels. There were more puzzles to solve, more secrets to uncover, and more challenges ahead. The journey was only beginning. Lila had never felt so alive. The Arindar's hidden chamber lay before her, glowing faintly, filled with puzzles and symbols that seemed to hum with energy. Each panel she touched responded instantly, shifting, glowing, or revealing new information. She realized that the chamber wasn't just a repository of knowledge. It was a test designed for anyone who might inherit the Arindar's wisdom. The alien fleet that had chased her earlier hovered somewhere above the planet. She couldn't see them, but the fighter's sensors indicated they were close, monitoring her every move. They didn't know she had already evaded them once. They didn't know the fighter was more than it appeared. And they certainly didn't know what humans were capable of. "All right," Lila whispered. "Let's see what you want me to do next." The first challenge was simple, at least on the surface. A glowing panel on the floor projected a series of lights in different colors and patterns. Lila noticed they weren't random. Each color represented an energy flow, each pattern a sequence. She tried pressing one panel after another and the lights shifted, but nothing happened. "Think," she muttered to herself. "Patterns, sequences, energy." Then she noticed a small symbol repeated along the walls, a symbol she had seen on the fighter's hull. She pressed the panels in the same sequence. The lights on the floor synchronized, creating a radiant bridge that led to a hidden staircase descending further into the chamber. Lila smiled. Her human curiosity, her ability to notice patterns and connect ideas, had worked. The next test was trickier. A room of mirrors appeared, reflecting her image 100 times. At first it seemed harmless, but then the mirrors started shifting, creating illusions. Pathways appeared and disappeared. Shadows moved in impossible directions. Lila realized this was no ordinary puzzle. It was testing her perception, her ability to distinguish truth from illusion. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. She focused not on what she saw, but what she felt. The fighter hovered outside the chamber, softly glowing, as if giving her strength. Trusting her instincts, she took careful steps, feeling the subtle vibrations under her boots and listening to faint echoes. Slowly she navigated the room. Each mirror that tried to mislead her seemed to bend away. She reached the exit without touching a single false panel. The hologram of the Arindar appeared. "Well done," it said. "You see beyond appearances. Many who rely only on sight or power fail here. Humans are underestimated, yet they possess insight beyond expectation." Lila's chest swelled with pride. She was just 12, and already she had outsmarted challenges designed for the greatest minds in the galaxy. The third test was the most difficult so far. A pedestal in the center of the room held a small, glowing crystal. Symbols on the walls warned that taking the crystal without understanding its function could trigger failure. Several smaller panels surrounded it, each with a question. But the questions weren't about numbers or logic. They were about morality. One panel asked, "If you could save yourself or a stranger, which would you choose?" Another, "If knowledge could harm others, would you keep it secret?" And another, "Would you sacrifice something precious to preserve life?" Lila hesitated. She was just a child. These were questions no one had ever asked her in school or at home. But she remembered what the hologram had said. The Arindar tested reasoning and morality, not strength. She thought of her parents, her friends, the people she loved. She thought of the galaxy and the civilizations she didn't even know existed. Finally, she reached out and touched the first panel. "I would save the stranger," she whispered. "Life matters more than me." The panel glowed. She touched the next. "Knowledge must be used wisely. If it harms others, I will find another way." The third panel followed. "I will sacrifice something precious if it means preserving life." The crystal in the center lifted slightly, spinning in the air. The room brightened as a beam of light shot upward, activating a hidden doorway in the wall. Lila gasped. She had passed the moral test. The Arindar had recognized her empathy, her humanity. Before she could step forward, the fighter's sensors beeped urgently. The alien fleet had arrived. They were larger now, several ships circling the planet, scanning for her presence. Lila's stomach tightened. They had probably tracked the energy pulses from the chamber.
They wouldn't be satisfied with simple observation this time. They would act. Lila ran to the fighter, her mind racing. The chamber was glowing behind her, but the fleet waited above. She had no weapons, no army, nothing but her wits and the fighter.
She climbed into the cockpit and activated the engines. The fighter lifted gracefully, as if it knew exactly what to do. Lila's fingers danced over the controls, adjusting the shield's navigation and energy flows. The alien ships fired scanning beams, but the fighter slipped between the canyons and mountains like water, moving in ways the larger ships could not anticipate.
She realized something important. Humans were underestimated because they were small, clever, and adaptable. They didn't rely on strength alone. They relied on thinking, on creativity. And in situations where others might fail through arrogance or brute force, humans could survive.
The fighter's AI spoke again. The Arindar left multiple chambers, each containing fragments of knowledge.
The full message remains hidden deeper within this planet. Pursuers are closing in. Caution and ingenuity required.
Lila took a deep breath.
She wasn't just running. She was learning. She was solving puzzles, navigating challenges, and thinking faster than anyone expected. That was her power.
That was humanity's power. She followed the map projected by the fighter, twisting through narrow caverns and tunnels.
Each step brought a new test: pressure plates that responded to weight, energy fields that required timing and precision, and panels that tested logic and intuition. Lila solved each one, remembering the lesson she had learned from the first chamber. Notice patterns, trust instincts, and stay calm. Finally, she arrived at a massive chamber, far larger than any before. It pulsed with energy. The walls were covered in glowing symbols, and in the center floated a large sphere. This was it, the heart of the Arindar message. The sphere projected a hologram showing the rise and fall of the Arindar civilization in detail. Cities had flourished through knowledge and cooperation, but pride and greed had caused collapse. Entire planets had been abandoned, stars left silent. The message was clear. Civilizations failed when they relied on force or arrogance instead of wisdom and unity. Lila's chest tightened. She understood now. This wasn't just a message for humans. It was a lesson for the entire galaxy. And humans, small and underestimated, had the traits the Arindar valued most: curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity. But the fleet was closing in. Sensors showed alien ships above, ready to descend. Lila knew she had to make a choice: fight, flee, or outsmart them. The crystal sphere floated closer to her. A small inscription glowed: "Use knowledge wisely, and victory will not rely on strength." Lila smiled. She didn't need weapons. She didn't need to fight. She had the fighter, her mind, and the Arindar wisdom. The alien fleet began their descent, scanning for energy signatures. Lila activated the fighter's cloaking systems, learned from the hidden controls she had discovered. She redirected energy pulses through the mountains, creating false signals that made the alien sensors think she had escaped in another direction. One by one, the ships followed the false signals. Lila guided the fighter carefully, leading them into the maze of caverns she had navigated earlier. Their sensors faltered, and one by one they gave up, unable to track her through the twisting tunnels. She exhaled, feeling a rush of exhilaration. She had done it. Not by fighting, not by strength, but by thinking, by being human. The hologram spoke one last time. "You have proven your worth, human. The Arindar knowledge is now entrusted to you. Use it wisely. Share it when ready. Protect it when necessary.
And know this: the galaxy underestimates humans at its own risk." Lila felt a warmth spread through her chest.
She was just a girl, 12 years old. But right now she carried the legacy of a lost civilization. She had faced challenges no adult could have solved alone. She had outsmarted fleets, solved puzzles, and demonstrated empathy and ingenuity. The journey was far from over, but she was ready. She understood now why humans mattered. She understood why the galaxy had always underestimated them. And she knew one thing for certain:
When humans reached for the stars, no one could predict what they would achieve. The fighter hummed beside her, waiting patiently. Lila climbed back into the cockpit. Ahead of her lay deeper mysteries, more chambers, and the knowledge that could change civilizations. She touched the controls, feeling a sense of purpose she had never known. "Let's go," she whispered. "There's more to discover." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, a canvas of light and darkness. Lila smiled. Humans had only just begun to leave their mark, and when they did, the galaxy would remember. The alien fleet hung in the sky like a storm of metal and lights. Lila's fighter rested silently on the rocky planet's surface, its sleek hull glinting under the pale light. Her chest heaved, but her mind was sharp. She knew she had something more powerful than any weapon: knowledge, ingenuity, and the ability to think differently. The Arindar sphere floated beside the cockpit, its soft glow reflecting in her wide, determined eyes. Its message had been partially unlocked, revealing the rise and fall of an entire civilization. But it wasn't just a history lesson. It was a blueprint, a lesson in wisdom, and a challenge to anyone who found it. The aliens above, larger and more advanced than any human craft, prepared to descend. They wanted the technology, the message, and perhaps even to claim the glory of discovering what humans were deemed too small to understand. Lila felt a flutter of fear, but it was mixed with excitement. She took a deep breath and spoke to the fighter. "All right, let's show them what humans can do." The fighter lifted smoothly, hovering above the rocky ground. Its energy panels glowed brighter as Lila touched the controls. She activated the Arindar guidance system, which had unlocked patterns of the planet's magnetic and gravitational fields. The fighter hummed with power, bending light and energy around it. "Stealth mode activated," the AI said softly. "Use terrain and energy channels to avoid detection." Lila's fingers danced over the controls. The fighter slipped into the canyon system she had navigated earlier, twisting and turning as it had done before. But this time, she had a plan. The alien fleet would follow the energy trail she had left in the chamber earlier, believing them to be her path. A series of energy pulses sent false signals across the sensors of the fleet. The ships veered off, one by one, chasing illusions through the asteroid-like terrain of the planet. Lila's small laugh escaped her lips. She wasn't fighting them. She was outsmarting them. That was the human way. She guided the fighter toward a deep cavern indicated on the hologram map. The entrance was narrow, barely larger than the fighter itself. She slowed carefully, reading the symbols etched into the walls. They pulsed faintly, guiding her to the final chamber. Inside, the chamber was breathtaking. The walls shimmered with energy lines, connecting glowing symbols that seemed to stretch infinitely. At the center floated a large crystalline orb, radiating knowledge and light. Lila's fingers trembled as she reached for it. The fighter's AI projected a holographic overlay. This was the heart of the Arindar message. As she touched the orb, the chamber came alive. Holographic projections of the galaxy appeared, showing civilizations rising, falling, and learning. Streams of knowledge flowed like rivers, revealing inventions, philosophies, and art from countless worlds. Lila realized that this was more than a message. It was a gift. A gift meant for those capable of understanding and using it wisely. But then the alien fleet's sensors triggered a warning. Their ships were closing in faster than before. Lila's mind raced. She could flee, but leaving now would allow the fleet to discover the Arindar secrets later. She had to protect the knowledge, not just for herself, but for humanity, and perhaps for the galaxy. The AI spoke softly. "You have no weapons, but your intellect and human ingenuity can create solutions they cannot anticipate." Lila nodded. She looked at the chamber, the glowing symbols, and the energy channels running through the planet. She had learned how the fighter could manipulate energy, how the terrain could hide her, and how the Arindar systems responded to thought, empathy, and creativity. "Let's do this," she whispered. The fighter's engines hummed. Lila sent pulses through the cavern network, creating a complex series of energy echoes. The projections of the alien fleet showed confusion. Their scanners picked up multiple false signals, multiple fighters, but none of them were real. Lila had created a web of illusions using the very environment in the fighters' Arendar systems. The aliens activated scanning lasers trying to pierce the deception, but the energy network twisted and bent the beams, reflecting them harmlessly across the cavern walls. Lila felt a thrill. She wasn't fighting with force, she was winning with intelligence. One of the alien ships tried to land near the chamber, determined to seize the orb. Lila guided the fighter outside the cavern entrance. Using a combination of light bending and gravitational pulses, she created the illusion that the chamber had vanished entirely. The alien ship hovered for a moment, sensors pinging in confusion, then retreated. Lila exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and exhilaration. She had outsmarted the fleet without firing a single shot. Not by violence, but by using the traits humans often relied on: creativity, courage, and thinking beyond the obvious. The fighter's AI projected a message from the Arendar sphere. The galaxy underestimates humans at its peril. You have proven that wisdom, courage, and ingenuity can surpass force. The knowledge is entrusted to you. Use it to guide, protect, and inspire. Lila smiled, her chest swelling with pride. She was just a 12-year-old human girl, yet she had done what the galaxy's largest fleets could not anticipate. She had proven the power of her species. With the alien fleet confused and retreating, Lila focused on the Arendar message itself. The holograms showed star systems, lost civilizations, and technologies beyond human imagination. But the most important lesson was clear. Strength alone did not ensure survival. Empathy, wisdom, and the ability to adapt did. She realized that humans had been underestimated for centuries because the galaxy judged them by size, weaponry, or age. That humans had something unique: curiosity, ingenuity, and the ability to make choices others might never consider. That was their greatest power. The fighter hovered over the planet, sensing new signals from deep space. There were more messages scattered across the stars, more knowledge hidden by the Arendar. Lila understood that her journey was far from over. She had only begun to unlock the secrets meant for her species. For a moment, she thought about the alien fleet. They had immense power, advanced technology, and experience. Yet they had failed. Not because they were weak, but because they underestimated a human child. Lila felt a surge of confidence. Humans had the ability to surprise, to solve problems in ways others could never imagine, and to rise where others fell. She tapped the fighter's controls and projected a star map. New coordinates glowed, marking locations of other Arendar remnants. Lila knew she had a choice. She could return to her home world, safe and unknown, or she could continue exploring, gathering knowledge and proving that humans belonged among the stars. She smiled. The answer was clear. "Let's go," she whispered. "Humans have work to do." The fighter shot forward, leaving the planet and the defeated alien fleet behind. Lila guided it toward the first of the hidden coordinates, feeling excitement she had never known. She was small, yes, but she was human. And humans could do what others could not. As she traveled, she thought about the lessons she had learned. She remembered the Arendar's tests: curiosity, perception, morality. She realized that every decision she had made, every puzzle she had solved, was part of a larger lesson for the galaxy. Humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because others failed to see the power of ingenuity combined with empathy. Her mind raced with possibilities. She could share the knowledge with humans in a way that could change the course of their civilization. She could inspire others to explore, to learn, to think beyond boundaries. And she could protect the knowledge from those who sought it for selfish reasons. Above all, she understood this: humans were not just participants in the galaxy. They were innovators, problem solvers, and creators. And now Lila had proven it. The stars stretched endlessly before her. Each system glimmered with potential, each planet a mystery waiting to be solved. Lila's heart pounded with excitement and pride. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Now, they would have to take notice. The fighter hummed beside her, its systems glowing softly, as if acknowledging her achievement. She patted the controls gently. "Thank you," she said. "We've done well." The AI responded with a gentle chime. "The journey continues. The Arindar knowledge awaits. Humanity shines because of choices like yours." Lila smiled, looking out at the endless stars. She was 12 years old, a human girl, and yet she had done what no one expected. She had protected the wisdom of a lost civilization, outsmarted an entire fleet, and proved that humans could shine in ways others could not imagine. The journey was just beginning, but one thing was certain: the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. With a soft hum, the fighter shot forward into the unknown, carrying a small human girl and the legacy of a civilization long vanished. And somewhere among the stars, the galaxy watched, waiting to see what humans would do next.